Do you know that taking profits on strength is smart trading? But are you trading smart? Let's uncover the secrets to securing your gains before they slip away by taking a look at this particular stuff. So, NVIDIA, what can we know about NVIDIA? Well, one, it went on one huge run here, went sideways, and moved up. This is one of the reasons why you want to take a look at the individual charts to understand what's going on. Let's see if we can dissect this and help you go, oh, yeah, maybe I should take some profits off the table. So, if you take a look, if you got into NVIDIA, let's say back at the beginning of 2023, well, it went on one heck of a run. It ran up over 200% in about 222 days, a little bit over three-quarters of a year. Then it went sideways. It went sideways for how long? 165 days. In other words, about 6 months. During this period, it was flipping back and forth about 20%. So if you were a day or a short term trader, yeah, you could have made some profits. But if you were a long time investor, your profits or your movement during that time was kind of dead in the water. So you weren't gaining anything. And then from that breakout there up to the new high has been another 100%. So in a little less than what from the time it began this move back here until we hit the high right there, that was 511 days. So a little bit over 1 year. Interesting. So what do you do now? Well, are we showing some weaknesses? And the answer to that question is yes, we are. As you can see on NVIDIA is breaking down below the 8-day moving average, and all of the momentum indicators are not only pointing down, but they have crossed to the downside. We saw a very nice negative divergence right there as it was going up to meet a new high. That does not bode well for NVIDIA continuing on the same pace that it's been on for the last almost 2.5+ years. What else can we take a look at? Well, over here on the weekly chart, look what's going on here. We have the momentum starting to shift. TSI has crossed down. The RSI has crossed down. Now, it hasn't broken below the positive 70 line yet. However, it does look like it's in a process of moving down. What kind of a candlestick do we have on NVDA? On NVDA, we have on the weekly basis right now, that, as you see, last week we had first we had a shooting star that happened 4 weeks ago. Always look back to your left. The high of that shooting star, which is a bearish reversal signal, never has been voided. So that's still intact. We have basically rallied back up into the high, and now we're falling and failing. We could wind up with a bearish engulfing for the week. Now, where's it going to go from here? I don't know. But even if it falls back down to the 50-day moving average, that's about a 12+% drop or $114. And so the question you have to ask yourself to be a smart trader is, do I take out some profits there? What is one of the profits that I would take out? I can say, hey, I'm going to sell half my position. And then from there, or a quarter position. The deal is learn to be a winner by taking some profits off the table. Have you ever felt like one of these guys? Oh, you're a deer in the headlights. You get that chill, that deer in the headlight feeling, watching a hefty profit turn into a loss. You're not alone. I've been there. That's my story. Matter of fact, I've done it so well that I've actually blown up 2 accounts because I was the deer in the headlights. And I've been there, failing to capitalize on gains, and that sucks. I mean, it really does. And it left me stuck in uncertainty, much like little Bambi here going, oh no. Today, I'm going to share my journey. from hesitation to action, revealing the technical steps that transform my trading and can actually transform yours also. As we tackle the Magnificent Seven stock, a surprising leverage ETF, and our index analysis, you'll gain insight to avoid my past mistakes and trade with confidence. So let's kick off first with the indexes, and we'll take a look at what's going on with them. Spiders. Okay, spiders on a daily chart. We are basically going back up to hit, kind of give us a little bit of a double top type action here. We had this one shooting star here on the spiders that has then been voided, and then we've gone up to newer highs. It is very much a reasonable expectations to see this S&P reach this upper uptrend line, stop there, and then fall. Remember what's going on right now. The question I'm going to have is does today's index performance just reflect window dressing? We have to remember that this is the last day of the quarter, and institutions go in and they rebalance their own portfolio to make it match their prospectus, which means if they didn't have enough Tesla, they'll have to buy some Tesla. If they didn't have enough of Apple, they'll have to buy some Apple to balance things out. That also can sometimes show up as selling on popular names because that particular name or stock, they were too heavily weighted in that. And that's what's going on there. If you've ever wondered, now you know. On the S&P, I'm not going to do anything with this. We are extended. It is basically the momentum on the weekly chart. The momentum on the daily chart is all pointed in the upside direction. Notice that on the longer term momentum on the weekly chart, just a daily chart, excuse me, even though we are making new highs, our momentum is actually falling off. So moving up, moving down, what's that going to translate to over the next few months? We'll see. We'll have to wait until the price action works its way out. So that's what we've got going with these spiders. I'm going to hit on the Russell real quick here. The Russell, this is pretty. You're going, yeah, Dennis, what's so pretty about it? Well, I've got a shooting star now on the Russell at a level of past support. Let's see where. I'm going to bop over here to the monthly chart. And as you can see, that high right there is not the ultimate high of the 244. It's actually just a little swing high right here. So while it is a monthly swing high, the strength of it as far as holding back the prices could be suspect. We have got a really great move to the upside on IWM. However, we may get a pullback. And where would the pullback go? Look for the pullback to come back into the 8-day moving average or the 8-week moving average. That's where I would expect a bounce on IWM. And of course, we would be shifting over to trade. If you're with a premium member, we would be shifting over to trade off of TNA on this particular one. And then last but not least, of course, are the Qs representing the NASDAQ. NASDAQ, this is the first time in a long time that the NASDAQ hasn't looked as healthy as the Russell. The Russell is basically breaking out to new highs. And now the Russell, of course, you remember, it's catching up. So let's see what's going on here. We are breaking up and out. We are just kind of stalling here. Note the TSI could break to the downside on the daily chart. And we've already broken below, as you can see over here on the weekly chart. We've done this little funky head and shoulders type pattern and broken below the plus 42 line on the TSI. Look, the RISI is also showing negative divergence. The market forecast, that green line, though, is still holding up. It is just basically strong as can be. I would anticipate, I'm not going to be wanting to do anything to this to the downside until I get a close or a cross below the 8-week moving average. But that's kind of my line of demarcation there. You may be wondering what of these new things are on my chart. Okay, I've got an 8 period moving average with a 1.5 ATR Keltner. So I get a close below the 8 week. Yeah, that's telling me that we're probably going to go down. I want to go back to here. That's the last time we had that close and everything broke down. This was not a very steep correction. It was around 10%. So I would look for, if we do a correction up here, about the same thing, simply because it will mirror what's happened in the past. And that is awesome. So if you ever wonder why, despite having all the right tools and information, making profitable trades can sometimes feel like an uphill battle. Sometimes I just feel like, oh man, I make all this progress and then I get stuck and I fall back into bad habits. Well, let's take a look at a couple of different things. One is, here's how we're doing with the autopilot trading. As you can see, we are now ahead of schedule. I did make a commitment to our premium members that I am basically trading this year for more than 40% for the year. And some of the great new things that were coming online that you got to know about. If you like Discord, there's a new Discord channel that's coming. It will be first offered to premium members. It is coming. And let me tell you, if you're not a premium member now, you're going to want to be, because this is absolutely amazing what we're going to be able to do. We're going to be able to tell about audibles. And I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that. We're not going to get into it right now. Sorry. Let's get back on track here. See how excited I get. So here's where we're going. And so I'm sitting up about 13% for the year so far. Very pleased with that. We're beating the S&P by 3%. Let's take a look at our stocks in the news for this week. We already looked at NVDA. Let's take a look at Google. This is a part of the Magnificent Seven, and I think it's one of the best of the Magnificent Seven. Do I buy it right here? Great question. Price action, you can see right now, has moved all the way up into the upper region. There's a whole bunch of sellers up here because that was the past high. The other cool thing that has happened here is that we have closed that gap on Google. I would look at potentially buying Google, and this could be a long-term type of investment because it is also a slow mover, is either off the 8 week or watch the 8 day. And we may pull back down into in between the 8 and the 34 as a potential buy point. Amazon. Amazon also similar type situation. It's respecting the heck out of the 8 week moving average. If it gets close to that, I would be a buyer of it. So that's all we got for Amazon. And then Amazon and Alphabet in particular just signed a new deal with Apple to license their Gemini AI system for iPhones. So that could drive the value of that up nicely. What about Tesla? Tesla just keeps running over itself. Terrible pun, but that's exactly what it is. Look at what a beautiful move back up into the 8 week moving average on Tesla. And look what it's doing. The sellers came in on cue, driving it down lower. If we break back down again, it's actually accelerated the downtrend on Tesla. And that's all I'm looking at right now, folks. I'm looking at just the technicals. The fundamentals on Tesla have been falling from the sky. They're really ugly. I think, now this is an opinion, please recognize it. I think that Tesla is looking a lot like the E stock. What do you think? Do you think Tesla is going to be another in run? Let me know what you think. Drop a comment in the chat box. If you're watching this as on a recording, let me know what you think there also. So that's it for Tesla. Tesla slipped 1.7% on Thursday. Its earnings fell by 40%. This is not the sign of a strong stock. And I don't know if Elon can pull it out. So cryptocurrency is going nuts. I really like Mara. not from a fundamental standpoint, but I like Mora because I would like to see it get a close above the 8-week moving average, but it's coming back down here to bounce perhaps off of the 8-day moving average. Again, we did get a breakout, but it went right up into the Keltner channel and also the high over here, and then basically dropped from there. While that is a significant shooting star, I'm not reversing much of an uptrend. And as long as I'm operating within this Keltner channel, let's say between these past lows at about the $20 level and where of this high up here, that's for the thing I like about Mara is if this does, in fact, is going to do a reversal, one, that move right there was 23%. So if you were in on that move, hopefully you've, as we learned earlier, taken some profits off the table. And up here, if it runs all the way back up into past resistance of about the $31 level, that's about a 58% move. The last time it did that, we ran from here to here, about 74% in how many days? 8 days. So that's one of the reasons why I've got that on my list. The other stock, AMD. AMD was looking pretty good a little bit earlier. AMD is providing a lot of competition for guess who? NVDA. And so I don't know if NVDA is feeling AMD breathing down their neck or not, but AMD, it's holding that 50-day moving average. I would like to see it break up, but the momentum on the daily charts, folks, take a look at this. It's all looking like it's getting ready to reverse and shift again. I would like to see a close above the 8. Mara, so you got to be quick on the trigger. You know, for us, we have our conditional orders in place to take advantage of those runs on Mara, not even trying to stay in it for the full ride. In other words, we want to do our 8 seconds and get off of that bucking bronco, you know? I grew up in Salinas, California, and of course, the Salinas, California is famous for the California rodeo. So we used to watch those Brahma bulls and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you stay your 8 seconds and you go, if you can stay on that long. So last but not least, you need to watch this one. And I was liking this earlier. I may not like it right now, but SOXL. SOXL hanging right there on the 8-day moving average. Momentum has shifted up and we are respecting and holding the trend lines. If I were wanting to get in this, I could nibble a little bit right there. Well, if I broke the trend line, that's about a 10% loss. But if I just go down to the 34-day moving average, it's about 7.5%. And below that swing low there, about a little bit less than 6%. So that looks pretty good. You know how we've been talking about making trading a little bit easier to handle, right? Well, I've got something that fits right into that. Over the last little bit, I have been getting into listening to audiobooks, and they're amazing. I do have an audiobook of my book, Trade Your Way to Freedom, and I encourage you to check that out. It's in audio now, and everybody who says that they got the audiobook said they're really loving it. I'll put the link down in the description. Trading is a journey, and every step counts. Keep it simple, stay focused, and don't forget to tune in to those tips we've shared. You got this. All materials presented are for training purposes only. Traders should always paper trade any new method prior to the risk of their own personal capital. Remember, past performance is not an indication or promise of future performance.